All right. Well, welcome. Thank you for everyone for joining us today, both in person and virtually. This is the first time that we have done a combination event, so bear with us a little bit. I do think, and some people were a little bit disappointed that they couldn't join us in person here today, but I do think that this is the wave of the future. I think you'll see more of these events coming down the pike. So our objective here today is really to share as much information with you as we can about the ICE Homeland Security Investigation Mission, TECS Modernization Program, and the two major procurements that fall under the TECS Modernization Program. So that is the Investigative Case Management System, which is the front-end system, and the SESS requirement, which is the back-end and data warehousing. So our goal here is really to encourage competition, and by ensuring that everybody has access to the same information, to create a dialogue, and to really communicate what we know, what we currently know about the program, what we don't know, what we're planning, and kind of our time frame for the upcoming procurements, and some of the technical challenges that we think that we're experiencing and that industry can really help us with in the coming months during our planning efforts. So we have a great presentation for you today. Our main presenters are going to be Jason White, who is a section chief in HSI, Monish Desai, who is a program manager in our Office of the Chief Information Officer, myself, Miranda Collins. I am a contracting officer and section chief in our Office of Acquisition Management. And just before we jump in, a few logistical notes. Again, this is our first time doing both a combination of a virtual and in person, so kind of bear with us. There is about a 30-second delay for the folks that are joining us online. And for those of you that are here in person, please remember to silence your phones and just be cognizant of the mics. They are very sensitive, so try not to have sidebar conversation. You might be heard on the online event. We are recording this. And if you do need to use the restroom, they are through the locked doors in the lobby where the elevators are. There's men's room is on the left-hand side, ladies' room is on the right-hand side. We'll have folks manning the desk to help you get back in so you don't get locked out in the hallway. And all other areas are restricted in this space. So with that, we do have a special guest speaker. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Marcus Medina.
Hello, everyone. Great to see so many people in the room, and it's not like little square boxes of faces. You actually see like the full all of you, so it's good to be in person. No more post-pandemic jokes, I promise that one. But it's great to be here today. I'm sitting in for our assistant director, Ray Schiller, who couldn't make it. Again, my name is Marcus Medina. I am division chief over our law enforcement IT systems, which includes being the system owner over our case management portfolio. Just a little background about HSI, who we are and what we do, to help add context to some of what you'll see in here today. I'm going to be reading a little more than usual because there's a lot of important information I believe you all should have as we go into today's workshop. So HSI is responsible for investigating, disrupting, and dismantling transnational criminal organizations and terrorist networks that threaten or seek to exploit customs and immigration laws of the United States. We're charged with enforcing over 400 statutes. HSI is actually the nation's second largest federal law enforcement agency. With over 10,000 personnel, we are in nearly 240 domestic field offices and in 56 offices around the globe. HSI's investigative authority covers a wide array of transnational crime, including human trafficking, child exploitation, money laundering, and cybercrime, among others. And actually, a lot of folks are surprised to hear that narcotics-related cases actually make the largest, by far, percentage of the types of cases that we do. So essentially, the agency's broad legal authority, combined with the complex nature of its investigations and the involving use of new technologies by bad actors, requires highly technical solutions to organize, track, collaborate, and report on investigations. A key component of this ability for special agent and criminal analysts to have the ability to effectively manage and document their investigation to support agency's mission. HSI's current case management system is used by HSI's 10,000 special agents, criminal analysts, task force officers, and other investigative personnel, and serves as the agency's official system of record for all investigations. The current system was launched in June of 2016 and achieved full operating capability in 2017. The system enables users to document all investigative activities, manage subject records, query internal and external law enforcement databases, record and track hours spent on cases, access dashboards to view agent and case data, and integrate with a separate application known as the Digital Records Manager, which is what we use to store and manage our case media. We've introduced some of the colleagues that will be presenting here today. I would actually like to take the opportunity to also introduce our unit chief, Mr. Ben Teed, who you will see here today as well as the folks from OCIO, our HSI section chief, and Miranda, who will be with you today as well throughout the day. Let's see. We hope that the session will allow you to gain a better understanding of the system's current state and capabilities, architecture and technical requirements, challenges and existing contracts, and future procurements related to this. I know when we first launched TECS Modernization and we looked for solicitations, what was it, 2002, 2011, there was only a few competitors in the marketplace back then, or so we determined. So it's great to see a room full of people, both in person and virtually, with us today. So in addition to the topics I just mentioned, we'll share a little bit more about the HSI's mission and how investigative personnel use case management system throughout the investigative lifecycle. We'll also provide additional information about the vision for the future of the program to ensure any potential solutions meet the evolving case management needs of HSI personnel across the globe. Again, thank you for all your participation. We appreciate your continued support of HSI and look forward to your questions and learning more about the progress and capabilities each of you have to offer. With that, I will pass it back over to Miranda. Thank you.
All right, so here's just a general overview of what we'll be covering today. I do want to do just a couple of disclaimers before we get started. So of course, nothing in this presentation commits ICE to any specific acquisition approach, agreement, or contract. Any solicitation that we publish following this event will take precedence over the information presented or in response to any questions. Of course, what we share with you today is what our intentions are, but we all know that the only constant in the government is change, so everything is subject to change based on a variety of circumstances. But having said that, we absolutely encourage a dialogue, and we do want to have questions and answers coming from this event. So this presentation will probably take about an hour-ish, give or take. Then following the presentation, we will take a 20-minute break. And then, so at that time, we will collect the index cards that everybody was given. So feel free to jot the questions that you have on your index card. There's a little basket up here at the front of the room that you can put your questions in. We also have folks in the back that will be collecting the questions. And also, if you have questions that come up during the Q&A, we give you a second card just in case things come up. The idea is that we want to document the questions in writing. We really don't want folks to be calling out questions. It'll help us kind of document and put all the questions together so we can make sure to follow up with a written response on anything that we can't actually answer here today. Those of you online, please answer ask your questions in the chat. We're not going to actually publish any of the questions right now. We have a team of people that are going through them during the break, and we will try to answer as many of the questions as we can. We may not be able to get to all of them, but we will follow up after the event to publish a copy of the questions and answers, the presentation, and the list of folks that are here in person today, and a copy of the recording. So with that, I will turn it over to Jason on the next slide.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jason White. I'm the section chief over law enforcement systems, which covers the case management program. I won't go too far in depth in this. Marcus has covered some of it, but I do want to point out we are charged with enforcing over 400 federal statutes. We have a pretty broad purview of cases that you see: drug smuggling, money laundering, terrorism. All of these case disciplines are very intensive in terms of case data and in terms of the records that are generated by HSI. We exist in 30 SAC offices and multiple sub offices over 210 cities, and we have 80 foreign offices in 53 countries and 13 countries with HSI-led transnational criminal investigative units. Next one. So the HSI case management overview, it's used by HSI special agents, criminal analysts, our task force officers, and other personnel to support HSI's mission. The current case management application is a single sign-on web-based system that serves as HSI's system of record for documenting and conducting investigative work. Our key functionality is to search internal and external law enforcement systems, which includes CBP's TECS portal, CBP's border system, Eagle, which is an HSI, which is an ICE system, CGIS, NCIs, and inlets, among others. We create and manage our subject records, which are records of entities with an investigative nexus. We create and manage case reports, such as our reports of investigations that our agents and task force officers make in the field, incident reports, the things that things that are seized, arrests that are made, field exam reports, and other investigative and enforcement reports.
Yes, are you going to distribute this or should we be taking notes?
The presentation?
Yeah.
Yes, we will distribute it.
Okay, thank you.
We have the ability to manage case media, video, images of documents, the ability to link to the objects that we talk together to house them together under one case or show the relationship between entities or records, view high-level agent, case, and office statistics through dashboards, and to manage administrative reports, things that have to do with the running of an office or a program. In our case management system now, we average 61,000 cases open per year, 58,000 closed per year, over 250,000 reports of investigations are approved every year. 83,000 CCATS incidents are created per year. CCATS is a system that is owned by CBP, but that we use to document our seizures. This is how we investigatively, track what we've seized, but it also serves as the record for seizures moving through administrative forfeiture. 55 million person subject records and 4 million vehicle subject records. Next slide, please. So these are our mission requirements: the creation and management of ICE HSI investigative cases, media and documents, such as investigative and incident reports, and operational reports, like we've discussed. The creation, management, and linking of HSI subject records that includes information related to persons, conveyances, businesses, and other objects. The creation and management of records shared with Customs and Border Protection. The ability to search subjects within the case management systems, as well as partner federal, state, and local law enforcement systems. Think criminal histories on that. Creation and management of case statistic dashboards, i.e. arrests and seizures. Creation and management of discovery packages and case exports. Whenever we have agents in the field that are documenting their investigation, we need the ability to extract that information for discovery to support the judicial processes. And we need to capture and manage our administrative data. Next slide. So we've talked about these concepts. Let's use an example of what this would look like in the real world. An HSI special agent, Jones, responds to a duty call. That means he or she's been called to a U.S. Customs and Border Protection officer manned port of entry to learn about the events that we're going to talk about. Suspect vehicle, it was stopped at the port. The vehicle was driven by a person, Jim Doe. Doe is the owner of Acme Import-Export Company, a business, and the car contains contraband, in this case, a gun. So, if we look at this, let's build the case. Prior to beginning the investigation, S.A. Jones logs into the investigative case management system using single sign-on credentials and queries the information she has already learned about the criminal activity. There, she queries both ICE and CBP subject records, as well as NCIC inlets, or III, to learn if there is prior derogatory information on Doe using the biographical information provided by CBP and Doe's identification, Doe's company, and Doe's vehicles. So we're dealing already with biographical information, and we are querying ICE records, as well as other agency, in this case, CBP and DOJ records. So we're searching for subjects, we're searching for case documents. These are investigative records that previously existed, and the interfaces that are there. Are there criminal histories involved? Next one. Due to the system's consolidated interface searches, Special Agent Jones is able to view the following search returns in the investigative case management system. Doe has a prior CBP TECS record related to a prior seizure of drugs. He has a prior criminal history for drug trafficking, resulting in a conviction out of Oklahoma. We learned that from NCIC, from the Department of Justice. Doe's company is the subject of a previous HSI investigation. Doe's vehicle has crossed into the United States 30 times in the past 2 months and has never been searched. So we have the first and the last bit of information comes from CBP. We have HSI investigative data that already exists associated with this person. And we have that DOJ information on previous derogatory information. Next slide. S.A. Jones interviews Doe, advising him of his Miranda rights and documents the information on a standard form. During the interview, Special Agent Jones learns Doe was hired by a man he knows only as Caliber, who he describes as a Caucasian male, approximately 40 years old, with blue eyes and brown hair. Doe has seen Caliber driving a blue Ford Mustang. Caliber is a silent partner in Doe's business, and Caliber has a Cessna 210 aircraft, and we have the tail number here, that he uses to import drugs into the United States. Next slide. So Special Agent Jones logs into the investigative case management system, again, using single sign-on credentials, and queries the information she just learned from the criminal activity. About the criminal activity from Doe. She queries both ICE and CBP subject records to learn if there's derogatory information on any individuals with the nickname of Caliber who are Caucasian males between 25 and 50 years old. She queried HSI and CBP records. Any aircraft with the following tail number that we were provided before, also against HSI and CBP records. During this single search, she is also able to see if this aircraft has had any recent international travel. Again, we're looking at subjects, case documents, and using the interfaces within the system, all within one system. Next. As a result of these queries, she identifies an HSI subject record for a closed case, Calvin Clark et al. She discovers the case is linked to a subject record for an individual named Calvin Clark, who has a documented nickname of Caliber due to the tattoos of a gun on his arm. Clark's 28 years old and is Caucasian. The Clark case is linked to a subject record for the aircraft utilizing the tail number that we previously learned of. The two subject records are linked together with an indication made by the linking agent that the plane is registered to Clark. Next one. So now we're building the case. We've taken this information as we're learning of it in real time. And each step we are querying the system, both on for HSI data, for other agency data, and we're doing it along several different levels with vehicles, with persons, and with activity such as crossing data. So Special Agent Jones is now ready to open the case in the case management system. She documents the information she's learned about Doe and Clark and all associated vehicles, aircraft, and businesses by opening a case folder or file that contains metadata about the investigation and houses the associated documents and records. We also need to create subject records information for the individuals and the conveyances involved. Writing a long form narrative called a report of investigation. Linking all these documents together and the case itself, as well as the relevant items from the prior investigation to Clark. And then the special agent also needs to upload media to include a PDF of Doe's Miranda waiver and photos. So Special Agent Jones' investigation leads to the arrest of Clark and the seizure of evidence. Special Agent Jones must create multiple incident reports for Clark's arrest and the seizure of evidence. Special Agent Jones must update the incidents with the appropriate dispositions through the adjudication process. We need to be able to update for the individuals to go through the judicial process, but also we need to be able to update those seizures. Judicial forfeiture, administrative forfeiture, in the case that evidence is returned to the parties it was seized from. Every time Special Agent Jones learns additional information via interviews, search warrants, subpoena service, etc., she does two things. She searches new information in the case management system and its interfaces. Next. And creates the information in its own case document. So we're retrieving that information. We're looking at the other cases. We're constantly going out. We're getting new evidence. We're getting new information. We're bringing it in, and then we're checking it against the system that's there. The results of that and the other investigative data are becoming then their own records. Next. When Special Agent Jones is ready to close the case management system ensures that all documents and events are approved with a final disposition. That means no pending workflow. All of the adjudication has been done criminally and administratively. We want to be able to track both of those things. Even once the case is closed, it is available for other agents to discover and link to further investigations, continuing the investigative cycle. With that, I'll turn it over to Manish.
Thank you, Jason, for walking us through this day in life of a special agent. And this is just one example of how the case management system is used today. And you saw case management system is an integral part. The agents continuously go back to it to search for data, to document whatever they need. And that's why we're here today, to provide them the capabilities and the tools to make them successful. So talking about the system architecture, there are two major parts. On the top half you see is the front end application, which is ICM, and on the bottom half you see the support system on the bottom. Let's talk about the front end. The case management system is the core repository for all case-related data. And this is just not any ordinary out-of-the-box functionality. It is highly configured for HSI's needs. statistics. This is dashboarding capabilities and supervisory reporting for any SAC office that they need to help manage their employees and agents within their offices. The administrative, we have hours tracking and transfers. Agents move around all the time, so we need to make sure that their cases are managed and the employees are transferred as needed. The user management capability, this is specifically to access controls, right? Some cases are very sensitive, so there's restrictive, they are very restricted on the specific cases they can see. Some cases are not able to be searched, and that is all managed with roles within the system. There's also logging. Logging is audit capability. When as soon as any agent or person touches the system, their audit trail starts. That they enter the system, they searched for some records, they accessed any records, they added documents to that record or deleted documents. Additionally, there's notifications that are sent out within the application itself as like pop-ups, and also email notifications to the agent. So if I'm working on a case with my co-case agent, and if they upload a document, I'll get a notification saying documents were uploaded within the system. Moving on to the backend support system. So there's the Prime Interface Hub. I think of this as the backbone to the system for interconnectivity that allows for searches, both internal, external partners, and for data sharing. Digital Records Manager that was mentioned before, DRM, that houses all case-related media. That includes video, audio, and large documents, and any other large case-related files that need to be added. And that is integrated with the case management solution that, up above. There's also Prime Portal, which is the legacy parolee data. This is static data that is able to be searched by the agent, and the data warehouse. The data warehouse is the authoritative data source for all legacy and current case information. And reporting is a little different from the statistics piece I spoke about before, because that is more executive level reporting that needs to be done for across the board, across the US, across the globe. And there's also Law Enforcement Information Sharing System, LEISS, which allows for law enforcement specific information sharing for federal, state, local, and also foreign partners. Next slide, please. Let's talk about some high-level technical requirements. We want the system to maintain its current interconnectivity with existing internal and external systems and partners, so that we, the agents, do not lose that functionality to retrieve that data to search across the board. Additionally, with that, we need to allow for backwards compatibility to all legacy applications and data. And this, we would like to be hosted in the ICE Cloud to take advantages of all FedRAMP approved cloud technologies. And as part of that, we want to make sure that we adhere to the DHS 4300 security requirements so that we can get through the ATO process, and then that security is baked in to the solution that we are planning to implement. And also, we want to make sure that we maximize the use of open source technologies. And then from the reporting standpoint, we want to be able to deliver data and business intelligence. We want to make informed decisions on any case, any documentation that we need to do, and provide a modular design, because as Marcus mentioned, the business need is always evolving. Next slide, please. Existing contracts. There are two separate contracts. One is the investigative case management, which is ICM on top half, and the bottom half, which is the SCSS contract. which is the support system contract. A lot of this information is kind of repetitive, but ICM is the front forward-facing case management application that is configured specifically for HSI's needs. It has over 10,000 users across the globe, and because of that, we need 24/7 support. And then, as any application that we have today on the internet in general, we need to keep the user in mind, so provide a good user interface and user experience as they go through this. And for 24/7 support, there's tiered user support that has specific SLAs associated to each. And then talking about the SESS contract, it is hosted in the ICE cloud. There's information sharing via the Prime Interface Hub and LEISS. And there's that contract also manages the digital records manager, which is the media or videos, audios, documents, and any other large files. And that is also a front-end user application. The data warehouse, as I mentioned, is the authoritative data source that is managed through the same contract, the executive level reporting, and then it oversees the Prime portal, which has access to the parolee data. Next slide, please. What are some of the challenges that we have today, and what we foresee? Time's always critical. We need this information always yesterday as we move forward. But for this, we see about a 2-year development to deployment functionality to be taken. And then user experience, we want to make sure that we are looking at the system experience from a user's perspective. We want to maintain all the current system integrations. A lot of it is backwards compatibility is required. And then the last two, evolving mission needs and modularity go hand in hand. HSI's mission is always changing, and we want to make sure that the system that is in place is able to evolve at a fairly rapid pace, that we can provide that functionality to the agents in the field. And as a final note, that's why we're here today. We're reaching out to you to try to address these challenges, to see what innovative ways and to leverage your expertise to try to manage this. With that, I'll turn it over to Miranda. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about contracts. So I think our plan forward is you've heard that we have 2 existing contracts, one for ICM and one for SESS, and that is our continued plan going forward. We do intend for them to be 2 separate contracts. So I'll go through ICM and then we'll switch over and talk about SESS. So just to give a little bit of background, back in 2014, I selected Palantir and the Gotham platform as the solution to meet our ICM case management requirements. This procurement was unrestricted and it was issued using FAR Part 15 procedures. Since that time, we have awarded 2 subsequent sole source task orders to Palantir against GSA schedule to continue to maintain the current platform. And then during the course of our acquisition planning in fiscal year 22, we did issue a request for information that many of you may have seen and responded to. And we certainly appreciate those of you who did respond to that RFI. We spent a lot of time really reading and digesting that information and also meeting one-on-one with vendors. So it definitely became apparent to us as part of that market research that there are solutions out there that we are really interested in. And of course, you know, the law requires us to compete, so we can't stay in a sole source environment. We need, you know, we're looking towards competition going forward. But we recognize it's going to take a little bit of time to get there. When you said we're expecting development, so it takes time to procure, it takes time to deploy and develop, and so we're looking towards the future. And we are open to all solutions, and that includes the incumbent. We're not excluding anyone. It's open to everyone. The goal really is to give everyone a fair shot. So we are looking for or intending right now to issue a solicitation in approximately the fiscal year 25 timeframe, possibly sooner if funds become available. But right now we are targeting the fiscal year 25 timeframe. And unfortunately, right now, we don't have a lot of definitive answers on the exact procurement strategy. We're not 100% sure yet on the contract vehicle or small business status, but we do know right now that it will be competitive. So we are continuing with our market research efforts so that we can hopefully answer some of those questions and let everyone know what we're planning. Next slide. And then the other main contract is the CSS requirement, and the current contract was competed as a small business set aside against GSA schedule. And the current incumbent performing that work is Integrity One Partners. The period of performance of this contract expires in June of 2024. So we are in the initial stages of planning for that recompete. And again, unfortunately, the exact procurement strategy is largely undefined. However, I will say that the likelihood of it being a small business set aside again is probably pretty high. And I think the last time around we did GSA schedule. So we definitely have a preference for using strategic sourcing vehicles when we can, but that isn't always set in stone, especially if we can maximize small business participation on another contract vehicle. So next slide. So where do we go from here? And like Monish said, we honestly need a little bit of help from industry to help us get where we want to go. For SESS, we do plan to issue an RFI on sam.gov to better understand the capabilities that are in the market and the small businesses that are available. And if you are a small business in particular, we really do want to hear from you, right? As I mentioned, it was a small business set aside the last time around, and it's certainly our preference to keep it in the small business arena if we can. But we really rely on those RFI responses to help us drive those decisions, but we need to have the data to support those decisions. So please, when we issue that RFI, I really encourage everyone to respond to that. Again, I mentioned if there are, we first go to the strategic sourcing vehicles that are set for DHS, but if we can maximize small business participation by going to GSA or whatever contract vehicle is out there, then that is what we like to try to do. And we certainly are also looking for feedback on other terms and conditions. We want to make this a business deal that works well for everyone, not just the government. So if there are other feedback or terms or any type of suggestions that you guys as the experts out there have for us, we're all ears. So please feel free to share those type of recommendations with us. And then for ICM, we are looking for industry feedback to really kind of help us better define our requirements. We heard some of the challenges that Manish mentioned, and we'd really love to get some feedback from industry on how, as we kind of refine those requirements. We're possibly, again, nothing is set in stone, but we are looking to possibly hold additional one-on-one sessions and potentially solicit white papers on very targeted topics. Last time around, we did kind of more of a general RFI. We may be looking for some kind of specific targeted areas, white papers that we can really dive into exploring some topics a little bit further. So my one caveat, because I know we're going to get this question, is when can we come meet with you, right? And so there's 2 points that I wanted to make. At this stage in the market research process, it's really important that we do have contracting representation at those meetings. So if you could please refrain from reaching out directly to HSI leadership or to any of the panel members. We want to make sure that the process is fair and that we have contracting there to hear what's going on. And unfortunately, we can't meet with everyone, right? You see just the representation in this room alone is a lot. So we unfortunately can't meet with everyone. We would love to. But it would honestly be a full-time job for us doing that. So we are going to be a little bit discerning about if we choose to meet with vendors who we meet with. Right now, what we're looking to do is look back at the RFI responses that we got the last time around and pick companies that we think we can learn from, right? But I do want to make it clear that this is all part of market research, and it doesn't necessarily indicate that we think that company is a better competitor, or it doesn't preclude you from participating in any type of future procurement if we don't select you. It really is, it could be one piece of your response that we found really interesting that we want to learn more about. So like I said, unfortunately, it is a little bit of our discretion to pick which vendors that we meet with. Let's see. And then I just wanted to highlight again our notional timeline. We are looking to complete market research for SESS this fiscal year. So I know it's coming up on fourth quarter here. There's going to be a lot of requirements that need to be awarded this fiscal year, but we are looking to conduct market research. So it puts us in a better position to not be behind the curve next fiscal year when SESS actually goes out on the street. So we're notionally planning to issue a solicitation in Q1 for SESS so that we can award prior to the end of the current period of performance in June of 2022. And for ICM, we are also going to continue our ongoing market research that I mentioned, so one-on-ones and white papers. And best case scenario, we will have a solicitation issued in fiscal year 2025. And ultimately, the goal is to allow time for any new solution to be up and running prior to the end of the existing contract, which currently ends in September of 2027. I think next slide, that is where we end. So what we'd like to do is take a 20-minute break. So any questions that you have jotted down, feel free to put them in the basket. All right. Well, thank you guys for your questions. It's much appreciated. Again, we will do our best to answer the questions that we received. And anything that we can't answer today, we will follow up on sam.gov. So that was kind of one of the very first questions that we got quite a bit, was how will we be communicating with industry from this point forward, and will the slides be posted and where? So we will be posting everything to sam.gov along with the initial posting where we announce the industry day. We'll continue to communicate on that posting. We will post a copy of the slides and the recording and the answers to the Q&A. All right, so I'm just going to go through and read the questions and answer what we can, and then I'll turn it over to Monish to answer a few more questions. So can the system integrator that wins SESS also bid on ICM? Yes, there's no limitation on contracting. Somebody can certainly bid on his lane. So. To ensure vendors not currently supporting ICE are given a fair shot, will the government consider a technical challenge or code demonstration or a generic scenario that focuses on innovation? Absolutely, I think that's a great idea. Is system training, job aid development part of the contract scope, or is this addressed separately? So yes, that is a separate contract. We have a contract that's specifically dedicated to training and communication. So that will not be within the scope of ICM or SESS. And the same question, will ICE consider using a coding or tech challenge as part of the evaluation process? Absolutely. I think that has been what we have done for the majority of our procurements in recent history, and we do anticipate that some type of challenge will be likely for both of these procurements. Will there be any clearance requirements? Yes. I don't know what they are right this second off the top of my head, so we will follow up with an answer, a better answer to that question. Is the DHS ICE SWIFT contract vehicle available to the Raven program? Yes. PSS expected to be completed, and will it follow a phased approach and tech challenge similar to Raven? We don't know right now exactly where we intend to compete it. We will make that decision following the R5 that we plan to issue. And will it follow a phased approach and tech challenge? It's likely that we will have a tech challenge. There may or may not be a phased approach. We usually make those decisions based on how many, what our competitive market looks like. So if we have a lot of interest, then we may consider doing some type of phased approach. That is likely. And will CIO SP4 be considered a strategic sourcing vehicle, even though it will not be active October 23? I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that question. If it is available, then it will be a vehicle that we will definitely look into for sure. Can the most updated version of the PWS and SAL be shared with the attendees? Yes, we can definitely share. We may have to redact some of it, but we will share current versions of the statement of work, understanding that they may not be exactly the same when the actual solicitation is published, but we certainly can share what we currently have. To Manish for technical questions.
Back to you.
Sure.
All right. Is the system hosted on premises or in the cloud? The system is hosted, ICM is hosted in the Gov Cloud, but it's a Palantir cloud environment, and the SCSS technology is also hosted in the ICE Gov Cloud in AWS. The current solution is hosted in AWS, and will you consider Microsoft Cloud? Yes, because the Microsoft Azure Cloud is also part of the ICE Cloud environment. What are the high priority areas for improvement? I think one big high priority area is agility to meet HSI's business needs, and we want to be able to provide and add capabilities to the solution fast as possible, and so that agents can leverage that new technology. What are the FedRAMP security requirements for the ICE Cloud? Right now, it's a FISMA high environment. And I think this goes back to the facility clearance. Second question here. ICE looking for a full replacement of the backend or just an integration and modification of the current backend to fit the potential new system? We're not looking right now for a full replacement of the backend solution. It's just going to be integrations with the current internal, external entities, maintaining those, and potentially adding other integrations as needed. And those are the questions that I have right now, and then we'll address others in the follow-up, right?
Yep, yeah, absolutely. We do have other questions. Again, we appreciate all of the questions that you guys asked. You had some really good questions that are kind of take us a little bit of time to make sure we put a response out that is coherent and makes sense and honest. So I think that pretty much concludes our event today. We really appreciate everybody's attendance. This was a really great turnout. Thank you so much, and feel free for those of you that are in person to continue to hang out and network. We think we have this space until about 1 o'clock, and again, we will follow up on sam.gov with the copy of the presentation, the registration list, the recording, and any other information, questions and answers, and all of that as soon as we possibly can. So thank you very much.